Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Snap Material. That is correct. It is the holiday season, December, and we are here to discuss the previous season of Marvel Snap, Higher, Further, Faster. We'll get into the upcoming season. We'll get into our holiday-themed top 5. We'll also talk a holiday-themed battle. That's right. We will have a live on-air battle. And we will also get into our unlocks. And I think that should be it. I don't know. I might be missing something there. But
well, Jesse, I have another bonus top 5 or possibly more.
Fantastic. Good. I knew you'd come through. That's Evan Bevins right there. I'm Jesse Starcher. Welcome to the show. We're going to get right into it right now. So previous season was Higher, Further, Faster. Clearly Marvel's themed, I would go ahead and say. This released November 7th of 2023. I know we talked about the preview last season, so now we're going to talk about our experience with this past season and what we got into and the cards we had seen and some of the surprises that may have happened. So our first card was Ms. Marvel, a 4-cost, 5-power card. Her ongoing was adjacent locations where your cards have unique costs have plus 5 power. And I remember last discussion we had, I was kind of confused. How in the world is this going to work? And now I have a better idea of it, obviously. I think thanks to your explanation during the podcast, number 1. But number 2, got to see it all kind of go down there during the season. Ran into her a good bit with her being the premier card that came with the season pass. She did cost me some games sometimes. There were some times where I was up against her and didn't have anything in my deck that could get rid of an ongoing or destroy her in some way. She can be an adversary for sure, a formidable adversary when she needs to be.
Yeah, I saw her frequently. Not wasn't inundated with her, but I saw her frequently, and she's definitely useful. She wasn't a card where oh crap, here comes Ms. Marvel, but you had to pay attention.
Right.
So and maybe you use Polaris or Juggernaut, move somebody around, and doubled up costs in some locations. But yeah, you definitely have to pay attention to her.
Yeah. I think her coupled with Onslaught sometimes really made me upset.
Oh yeah.
So after that, we got the 3-cost, 7-power Gladiator, which we both dropped some, Spotlight Caches, I think, is what I used to try and get Gladiator. I had to use all 3 of them. Gladiator's on reveal, add a card from your opponent's deck.
4.
Oh, man. On reveal, add a card from your opponent's deck to their side of this location. If it has less power, destroy it. Yeah, I had to get him. I thought he would really be more useful than he actually is. I don't know if it's because I really did lean towards not using a deck that was kind of geared around him very much this past season. So there may be a situation where I do finally get a deck that I want to build around him, or at least have him as an integral part of it. But yeah, I didn't see him doing much other than when he is used, the majority of the time he's killing off whoever comes out there. But if you get somebody with a greater power of 7, then, I mean, those are few and far between in the world of Marvel Snap cards. So I did face Gladiator every once in a while, and when he was used against me, there weren't too many times where I was cussing what happened. I can recall any games where I immediately was like, okay, I'm done here after Gladiator killed whoever it was.
Well, I didn't regret using 4 Spotlight Caches to get him. Yeah, he's not somebody you'll build a deck around, but I mean, I worked him in pretty much in my old standby, the Living Iron slot deck, because I figured he kind of splits the difference with Thor, and he's under Shang-Chi's threshold, and you don't need 2 cards. You don't need to draw 2 cards to make him work. So he kind of replaced Thor in that deck for me. I tried him in a variation on the Silver Surfer deck, since he's a 3-cost. It is pretty satisfying when he draws Null and blasts him to smithereens.
Oh, yes.
So I do like that, and I think it's a pretty cool representation of, because I believe in the comics his power and strength is actually tied to confidence. So if he's going up against Death, he might not feel as confident as if he's going up against, say, Electro.
Okay.
The thing that I didn't think of with him that kind of mitigates his usefulness, but also justifies the 7 power, is if it's an on-reveal card, they still get to do their on-reveal.
Mm-hmm.
So you're depriving them of points, but not the effect. So that's something I didn't really think about. So it's not a reason not to use him, but kind of tempers what he can do a little bit.
Right. Yeah. All right. Third card we're going to talk about tonight is Annihilus. 5 cost, 7 power. On reveal, your cards with 0 or less power switch sides, and you destroy those that can't. My notes here was, you told me you ought to save up, Jesse, and wait to get this guy. And I was like, nah, man, I really want that Gladiator. I got to get Gladiator. I took a shot trying to get him, and I did not get him, and wasted my one spotlight cash on, I think I might have got X23 or somebody. I can't remember. But anyway, did not get Annihilus. So that week passed me by, and I was watching people use them left and right. One of the more unique and sometimes very useful powers that are out there. And I did encounter him a handful of times. It was fun to kind of see him do his thing, but he didn't win the game for a lot of people that I played against. Usually when he would show up, I had something to kind of counteract or answer with what happened. Usually Death Strike, if I'm looking at a bunch of negative cards coming over into my lane, as long as the lane isn't filled up, I've got usually Lady Death Strikes in my bounce house deck that I've been using primarily. So anyway, how about you?
Yeah, I only had, because I wanted Gladiator so much, I only managed to get one spotlight cash when he was in there, and I got Dakin.
Okay.
But they, just like last season, he made his way into the shop a little bit before the end of the season, so I did get him. Using those 1,000 tokens from my efforts to get Gladiator helped put me over the top there. And I found him pretty useful. I do have a deck. It can't just depend on him, but I do have a deck that he figures prominently into. And I mean, he's not going to automatically win you the game, but he can help. I mean, I had some games that I lost primarily because Annihilus came in, and like you can kind of see him coming. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know people used Sentry before him, usually with Viper, but now if I see Sentry, I'm expecting Annihilus.
Right.
To follow closely behind him. And I mean, I'm winning more than I'm losing with him. It took me a little while to fine tune it, but yeah, it works out pretty well for me usually. I threw Angel in there. If in case he doesn't come out, then when one of those rocks or the hood or whoever gets destroyed, you can get an extra 2 points in there with Angel.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me about that. I thought that was a very sound strategy.
And then I tried putting Patriot in there because I was having Debris toss out some rocks, but I ended up phasing him out. I think I replaced him. I don't remember the exact order, but I've got Werewolf by Night in there so he can jump in behind the hood, the Sentry, Annihilus. I need to go back and read some Annihilus comics because so far I've found the card much more interesting than the character. Just everything I've read with Annihilus, everybody's like, guys, Annihilus, that guy is bad news, but he never really does anything.
Yeah, should be able to grab yourself a handful of Fantastic Four. He's got to be in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fourth card, final card of the season, and that was Martyr. 1 cost, 4 power. But at the end of the game, she moves to a location that loses you the game if possible. So I remember you saying that there aren't very many. I don't think there are any 1 cost 4 powers out there. You said, right? No, okay. No. So before Martyr hits, we had our discussion on the last season about what we kind of expected. We were talking about Viper, which, by the way, I didn't see anybody use Viper with her in it. And I don't know how sound of a strategy that is now. A lot of people really disliked this card. The meme that I saw on the release day for Martyr was, hey, everybody, it's Martyr Day. And then, of course, underneath that, it said no one ever. So, nobody was excited about this card. And I think a lot of it is because they couldn't understand the point of having the card out there. But I watched Martyr get played, I think, one time. I don't think I ran into Martyr very often at all, just that one time. And the first time, sure enough, Martyr was laying out there on, oh my goodness, Nidavellir. And so I had +5. Well, there were spaces open, and at the end of the game, she jumped over to a space and lost the guy 9 points on that lane. And I ended up winning the game because of it. And I was like, geez, Louise. But yeah, she definitely is doing what she's supposed to do. But the decks that you want to build around Martyr are definitely you want to make sure that you have everything filled out so she can't move anywhere or locked down. I mean, I guess with Professor X might be a good thing to throw onto that lane if you can. If you've got the lead, she ain't going to move anywhere. So, but yeah, I saw a lot of people hating on this card. A lot of hate, and I hardly saw anybody using her. So, how about you?
Well, I mean, except for the times where you get a reward for having Martyr in your deck, you don't have to play her.
It's true.
You know,
it's true.
I mean, I give him credit for coming up with something unique that at least I'm not an expert on the character, but it at least fits the name kind of. And I mean, her existence can throw a few wrinkles in with District X or random cards being generated. Like, oh crap. Gee, thanks, Coulson.
Right.
But I didn't see her a whole lot. I get the 1/4. I guess that's supposed to add a little more reward, but I don't know that it's worth the risk. And if you make it even higher, then it makes it even easier to lose with her. So I think maybe right now she just works best as a fly in the ointment. I mean, you could shut her down with 0 or, like you said, Professor X, drop her into deep space. I just don't know that any of that is worth taking somebody else out. I mean, if you've got a slot for Martyr, why not just put Nebula or Sunspot in that?
That's true.
Or Echo.
Yeah.
There's just too many other one-cost cards to justify putting in there. But as far as somebody that could come up randomly, or I guess if there's ever a time when there's a bunch of Loki decks, you could pack Martyr to mess with them. But
that'd be fun. Yeah.
In any of those things, it doesn't seem like there's much of a reason to put her in a deck.
What's the balance, would you say? I mean, what would you do to try and make her a little bit more appealing? Up the power?
Maybe, but then it makes the higher her power, the more of a risk she is.
Right, the more of a risk she is. But
unless you get her to 1/6 or 1/7 like Ebony Maw, then it's worth putting 0 in.
Yep.
Because Ebony Maw, I used to love trying to run, but honestly, again, they're even lower power cards. There's just more upside. So I guess if you raised her power even more, but then if you don't draw that card to counteract her, is it really worth it?
That's the risk you take. I don't know. I believe the answer is probably bringing the power up just a little bit more, and she's going to be a lot more appealing to people who are willing to take a risk or build a deck around that risk somehow. Yeah, but I didn't get a chance. I wanted to see somebody. If I get Martyr, I'm definitely doing the Viper thing. At least at some point, I'm going to try and do the Viper thing just to see if I can get them to be messed with. And
unless I want to do a really comic accurate Guardians deck, I don't see using any resources to get Martyr. I mean, if I get her in a Spotlight cache, I don't know. I mean, I won't say I've gotten less useful cards, but that Mirage casual variant, it isn't. The original card just looks cooler. So
what is the casual variant again? What does she look like?
It's just like her on a scooter, not in costume.
Oh boy. Okay.
So
all right then.
I mean, I told somebody, like, her and the Maria Hill, the casual variants, they're drawn like girls I would want to hang out with, but who probably would politely tell me they'd rather not. So that's what it made me think of. So, that's sorry to bring everybody down on this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be like, for some reason, it wouldn't bother me as much as MODOK did, even though I found ways to make peace with and use MODOK. I don't know. I mean, I could see it being a fun challenge if she popped into your deck. I just don't know why you would invite it.
Right. I hear you. All right. Next up, let's get into the locations here. We're going to talk about the Nohr dimension. That's what I'm going to go with. How was it pronounced in the movie? You said it was in the movie, right?
No, it was in I think it was referenced in the show. And
okay.
I don't remember. I was saying Nohr, which is just like Nor, but with a little bit longer vowel sound. I don't really know.
Nohr dimension. After you play a card here, add a Jin to your hand. The Jin is a 0/1, 0 cost, 1 power card. And on the reveal, you get 2 energy the next turn. So as far as locations go, I thought this was a good one. You wanted Sunspot in your deck when this thing was active, when they had this as the featured location. I had Lady Deathstrike, but Lady Deathstrike was in there to make some more room. Did you have any fun experience with the Nohr dimension?
Yeah, I always like anything that gives you more power or more energy. but I know several times it was kind of like maybe eating around the holidays. It looked good, but pretty soon you were regretting it and thinking, yeah, maybe I should have backed off a little bit. There were a couple of times where I started to get locations so filled up that it didn't matter if I was using if I was using Sunspot, that's good, but if I wasn't using Sunspot, then it didn't matter how much extra energy I had.
Right.
So it's fun, but it's not necessarily the best idea just to keep tossing cards in there.
Right.
There's 12 spaces. Now, Venom is workable there, or Green Goblining, or Annihilusing, or whatever. Some people over there, so they can't get the gen. That's fun.
That's pretty smart. Recently, I played a game. First location was Death's Domain, and then the second location was Nohr Dimension.
Oh.
So we were just feeding all these gens to the Death's Domain. It got pretty ugly, but I would love to see that. Man, could you imagine gens with Altar of Death? That would be an energy feast. My goodness.
You better have Sunspot.
Yeah, no kidding.
Or
all
at
right.
least She-Hulk.
Oh man, easy. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think if we ever do a top 5 of top locations, my goodness, we haven't done that one, have we? We've done most hated locations.
Yeah.
Have we done top locations? I don't think we have.
I don't think so.
Tarnax 4 is going to be at the top of my list. I definitely had a strategy that I was talking about last recording session, where I said, when this goes live, I'm going to have Legion in my deck. And I'm also going to try getting Mysterio to see if after I play Legion, those other cards change from a 2-cost 0 card to a 2-cost something. And sure enough, that worked. Legion turning every location at a Tarnax 4 was some of the most fun I've ever had, sitting there watching people try to come up with a strategy or some way to win the game when it was just absolute chaos from that point forward. I do have a lot of screenshots, a lot of video with the chaos that I caused with Legion. And even when I lost, I wasn't upset at all. It was just fun playing the game at that point for some reason for me. And I think a lot of that is, you could tell, I'm definitely a proponent of chaos. I like throwing Legion out there. I like throwing Quake out there. I love watching these locations turn sometimes. I wanted to actually call off of work the day that this was. I legit woke up that morning. I was having so much fun the night before. I think I stayed up till 1:00, stupid late, just doing Tarnax 4 over and over and over. Because when you told me, because you had mentioned that, hey, something was going on. I don't know if you told me about the location. I was like, oh, that's right. It's live right now. I get off work. All I'm doing is playing. And then I go to bed really late. The next morning, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do anything but work. And I know the location is going to get turned off at 2:00 our time. So it's like, I just want to stick around and just not work and play this game all day. That's how much fun I had with Tarnax 4.
I didn't seem to see it that much, and maybe I just wasn't playing as much that day. I've seen it a couple times. I don't know, maybe I'm just not as ready to embrace the chaos as you are. That's a theme battle we should do sometime, even though it's more of a DC thing, order versus chaos.
Yeah.
But I love the concept, but I don't know, when it did pop up for me, it seemed, I was like, no, I need to do these specific cards, my Iron Slot deck, which
that's right.
I know I keep coming back to that, but it's been my most consistent performer. But so I don't know, maybe it's just the decks I was playing. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I didn't dislike it at all. I just didn't encounter it as much as you did, and it wasn't really something that worked for me when I did it.
Okay. All right. Well.
And by the way, that was the one that was in the Marvels in the movie.
Oh, Tarnax 4. Okay.
Yeah. I think it was just called Tarnax, but that's the Skrull homeworld, which is, if you didn't know that, the fact that you get a little Skrull image every time before your card changes ought to clue people in. So I love it as a concept. I just didn't dive as deep into it for whatever reason, but I love the idea. It's a good addition to the roster of locations.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the next installment of Snap Material.